Alright, I wanted to make a quick little comparison between three of my fully balanced solid state amplifiers here. At the top we've got the Schiit Jotunheim 2. Below that we've got the Topping A70 Pro. And below that we've got the Topping A90D, also known as the A90 Discrete headphone. These are all, by the way, headphone amplifier and preamplifiers, balanced and single-ended. These can all be ran either through their headphone sockets or as a preamp, both balanced and unbalanced. Sorry, I didn't script this video, so I want to make it very quick. And feeding all of those headphone amplifiers via a balanced XLR cables is my RME A90 Pro FSR Black Edition AD-DA converter. As reference as they come is this little guy right here, the RME. That the DAC/RME was also being fed right now with a 12 volt 3 ampere linear power supply. Now for my headphone listening here, I've used my 7 Hz timeless in-ear monitors, and I've also used my Fostex T50RP 50th anniversary edition planar magnetic headphones. These actually use the T60RP drivers within them. So both the IEMs and the headphones are both planar magnetic drivers. Now out of all three of these amplifiers, the Jotunheim 2, the A70 Pro, and the A90 Discrete, to me the most laid back and the most pleasing sounding out of the three. However, let me put this. For the Jotunheim 2, I was only able to run my IEMs in the single-ended socket because this, of course, does not have a 4.4mm Pentacon connection. So quick little disclaimer, for the Jotunheim 2, I had to run my in-ear monitors, the 7 Hz timeless, through the single-ended input. But all of these amps were being fed, as I said, balanced XLR through the RME with this 12 volt 3 ampere linear power supply. Now, okay, out of these three amplifiers, the most laid back, the most relaxing, least fatiguing, just listen to hours on end, pure linearity headphone amp out of these three is none other than the Topping A90 Discrete. And I also ran all of these in the low gain, by the way. These are all ran in low gain. So for the most cleanest, the most laid back, the most relaxing, and I might even say the widest sound stage out of these three amplifiers, I think came from the A90 Discrete. I've been spending the past literally 4.5-5 hours down here being all three of these amps. Different listening levels, of course, and I've been using these strictly for first-person shooter games. So I haven't been using this for any type of music, any videos, nothing like that. Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 are the 3 FPS games I've been using for all of these amplifiers. Yes, the most laid back, the most linear, but widest staging out of all three of these amps is the Topping A90 Discrete, by far. Now, however, the most punchiest, the most in control of the drivers out of these three amplifiers is the Jotunheim 2. I ran my Fostex through the XLR input out of all three of these amps, and of those three, the Jotunheim 2 by far had the most control over those drivers, you know, not even reaching the halfway point on the volume knob, once again on low gain on the Jotunheim. That had the most, it felt like the most control, the most strength, I guess you can say. The most meaty sound, meat, came out of the Jotunheim 2. The A70 Pro is kind of like the middle ground here. Out of these three, nothing crazy special stood out of the A70 Pro, even though on paper, the A70 Pro technically puts out the most power, 17 watts, I believe, in 16 ohms, and a 16 ohm load from the A70 Pro. You're never ever going to need really that type of power. But out of the three, the most linear, most relaxing, I guess, listen to, go on hours and hours upon listening, is probably the A90 Discrete. that also, I think, to me, had the widest soundstage. Now, the most narrow soundstage out of these three came from the Jotunheim 2. So the Jotunheim 2 has the most narrow soundstage, but it has the most meat to the bone, if you will. It has the most control over the drivers out of these three amplifiers. The A70 Pro almost sounds like the A90 Discrete. It just has a little more emphasis on the low end, on the bass. Oh, and out of these three, believe it or not, the most brightest sounding, to my ears at least, for both the IEMs and the headphones, actually came from the Jotunheim. So the Jotunheim 2 has the most sparkle, if you will, the most, I don't know, treble, I guess you can say, on the top end came from the Jotunheim 2. So that was by far the most sparkly, had lots of treble up top. These two are very very similar, but out of the three of them, I think the one I'll be using the most is probably the A90 Discrete for both in-ear monitors and full-size headphones. And right now I got the 3.5mm socket plugged in for the IEMs, but I did use this 4.4mm Pentagon connection for both the A90 and the A70 Pro. I just wanted to switch over to this gold-plated, this is like an $80 IEM cable, going into Jotunheim. Now all three of these sound phenomenal, but it really depends on your taste, I guess. I just wanted to make a quick little video on my thoughts today, just comparing, because this was the first time I actually compared all three of these amps. So the widest sound stage, the most relaxing but pleasing sound out of these three came from the A90 Discrete. The A70 Pro has a much more aggressive sound to it. A little too much bass for my liking. A little too much bass coming from the A70. And the one that had even more bass actually, but felt the most in control out of the three amps, came from the Schiit, or Shit. I shouldn't be saying that on YouTube, but that's the company name, literally. Jotunheim 2. So that has the most body, the most control out of the headphones from the Jotunheim 2. Widest soundstage, linearity, king, I guess you can say. Widest soundstage, A90 Discrete, followed closely by the A70 Pro. And once again, all three amps were being fed through XLR, balanced with the RME 80i2 Pro FSR Black Edition with a 12 volt 3 ampere linear power supply. So I gave these the best signal that you can really give them. So I'm going to be using the A90 Discrete in the future, folks. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, I really kind of rushed this video. I just wanted to make a very quick and short, informative, I guess, or not informative, video here comparing these three amplifiers in gaming purposes. So yeah, let me know if you have any comments or questions down below. Till the next video, folks. Catch you later.